I have a second channel, Cube Comp MTDX.
Hey everybody. So back in the middle of December 2022, I upgraded the Q Computer MidTower Deluxe as well as the Q Computer PortaCube system to Windows 11. And of course, the MidTower Deluxe, which does not meet the Microsoft Elite Class minimum system requirements for Windows 11, or in other words, the minimum system requirements for Windows 11, took Windows 11 just fine. And of course, I used the Rufus utility to set up the installer to bypass the TPM checks and the CPU checks. Just keep in mind that when you do this, you will not receive feature updates automatically. You'd have to manually install those. So don't do this if you're selling computers to someone else who's not very technically inclined. The PortaCube system, which does meet the Elite Class requirements, it meets all the requirements for the all the minimum hardware requirements for Windows 11. Of course, was like a young kid not wanting to go to doctor. It would not take Windows 11, whether I did an upgrade install or did a clean install. I actually backed up the SSD and formatted it and did a clean install, and it still wouldn't take it. It wouldn't take 21H2. It wouldn't take 22H2. I ended up having to literally start the installation on a different system, getting to the point where it would ask you for like your keyboard layout, and I'd shut the system down and pull the and I made a copy of that computer's SSD over to the M.2 drive, put it back in the PortaCube, and it booted right up. So getting Windows 11 on the MidTower Deluxe was pretty straightforward. It was an upgrade install from Windows 10. The PortaCube, again, pain in the butt, really, but it's on there now. So I've been running Windows 11 on the MidTower Deluxe for half a month. And of course, the MidTower Deluxe is my daily driver. Here's what I think about Windows 11 after using it as my primary OS for half a month. So, this time around, the MidTower Deluxe still has Windows 11. The last time I tried Windows 11, it got downgraded back to Windows 10 less than 24 hours later. That was 21H2. Whereas 22H2, many of the issues, or particularly the biggest issue I had, which was the lack of folder thumbnails, was fixed. I now have folder thumbnails, so that way it's easier to sort through my pictures and videos, and as someone who edits video and works with photos, it's a must-have. You've got to be able to see what's in the folder without having to open a folder. And at least in 22H2, you do have a preview, somewhat a preview of what's in there, and I think it's sufficient enough. It tells me whether the folder is empty or there's stuff in it, and it gives me a general idea of what's in that folder. So that was fixed, and here are some things I do like about Windows 11. Despite the MidTower Deluxe not meeting the Microsoft Elite Class minimum system requirements for Windows 11, it runs Windows 11 really well. It is a Ryzen 7 1700X CPU. It's got 32 gigs of RAM, Radeon RX 550 graphics, 1TB M.2 SSD, 8TB of storage for data. And it runs Windows 11 really well. So I had an issue with one of the built-in apps, and I had one issue with a blue screen. Not sure what the blue screen was all about. I didn't actually go back and look at the what it was from. It was actually when I was opening my video editing software. The first time I had an issue was with the built-in MS Paint, because I use Paint a lot, and honestly I think the Paint in Windows 11 is absolute garbage. It's terrible. They basically took the Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10 Paint application, and they try to make it all nice and pretty with these big giant menus and things like that. And when I went to select a font to type some text over an image, it froze up. It hard locked up the application. The system didn't hard lock up, but the application froze up, and I had to end it, and of course losing my work. Therefore, I downloaded and installed the classic Paint, which you can actually download off the internet, the classic paint like what's in Windows 7 and Windows 8 and Windows 10, and that works fine. I do like the new File Explorer after some fine tuning. One thing I did was I installed a registry fix to bypass a simplified right click menu. So when I right click on the desktop or whatever, I don't get the little condensed menu with the show more options. That's annoying. That's just so annoying. Like for example, if I want to copy or paste something, I'm so used to looking for copy and paste rather than the little symbols for copy and paste. I can tolerate it to a certain extent. I can get used to it to a certain extent, but there's a fine line between what I'll tolerate and what I say enough is enough. Other than the hiccups I had, it seems like things have gotten better since running Windows Update and letting install patches and things like that. Which, even though the MidTower Deluxe is an unsupported system, and in my technical lingo, it doesn't meet the elite class requirements, it still does get security patches and things like that. However, after I think it's a year and a half that Microsoft supports their feature builds, it would have to be upgraded to a newer feature build, which again, on unsupported hardware, would have to be done manually. But overall, performance is really good. Startup and shutdown is really good, and it seems like this system runs Windows 11 a little faster than Windows 10. And this is just a subjective opinion. I didn't actually do any hard tests to confirm that, but it does seem like things do run a little better than they did on Windows 10. Some of the built-in apps I do like. I do like the new settings menu, minus the fact that it's more difficult to set default applications. In Windows 10, there was a default apps section where you could set your default, like mail viewer, photo viewer, video player, music player, email client, and web browser. There was a patch that was released in 21H2 that fixed the lack of ability to easily set your default browser, but they did not include the ability to set the default photo viewer, video player, music player, etc. I'd like to see that returned. It would make matters a whole lot easier. Just bring it back. Bring it back. And also, I don't like the fact that when you right-click on the taskbar, all you get is either taskbar settings or task manager. It used to be just taskbar settings, and I think there's a certain patch that has to be installed to get the task manager, because right now if I right-click on the taskbar, I still get just taskbar settings. In my video where I did a sort of review of Windows 11 22H2, I got both options. So it's still not as good as in Windows 10 when you right-click and you get all your different options. That's something I think needs to be addressed. The new start menu, it definitely takes some getting used to. So Microsoft's approach with the start menu ever since Windows 10, in my opinion, or actually no, since Windows 8 really, is to be more like a mobile operating system where you have, of course, like on an Android phone, you have, I'll show you here. You have your pinned applications. And of course, you have your app drawer. Think of this as your start menu where you can scroll and go to different pages. That's how the Windows 11 start menu actually works. And then if you want to go to all apps, you would of course go to all apps. So very similar approach to a smartphone or a tablet. And so on my system, I have recent files turned off. I just prefer to have them turned off. So when you have that turned off, the recommended part of the Windows 11 start menu does absolutely nothing. It says, to show your recent files and new apps, turn them on in settings, launch start settings. So half the start menu is basically useless. So, I mean, I did take the time to pin some of my most commonly used things to the start menu, and also went into settings and turned on the button at the bottom for the documents, downloads, music, pictures, videos, network, personal folder, and file explorer, all that good stuff. Your settings, and still we're coming back to that what I said earlier about icons versus words. I'm so used to seeing words. I'm so used to opening the start menu and seeing like my name, documents, pictures, music, videos, downloads, so on and so forth. That's how OpenShell works, which is like the classic Windows 7 start menu. I do like the new visual animations that you have in Windows 11. I think they're pretty. It's kind of like going from Windows XP to Windows Vista. I mean, we went from the bare and basic Windows XP to the pretty and shiny and fluid Windows Vista. Windows 11 is kind of like that in a way compared to Windows 10. I do like the new Notepad. For example, Notepad, if you have your system theme set to dark mode, Notepad now displays in dark mode. Now, it's kind of like how Microsoft Word does. For example, now I have this turned off. I have it set to show the page as it would look on paper with a white background. But I do remember in Windows 10, Office started showing the page based on your color settings or your dark mode or light mode settings. In Notepad, it's nice how it sort of mimics the overall look of your OS. Some may not like that. I mean, it depends on your personal preference. I do like the new simping tool that comes with Windows 11. I do like it to an extent. One of the cool things about the new snipping tool is the fact that when you drag and make a snip, it automatically saves a copy into a screenshots folder in your pictures. So even if you forget to hit save, you have a backup copy. Now sometimes you may make a mistake, or you may just take a screenshot just for temporary measures. So every time you click and pull, and let's say if you make a mistake or whatever, every time you click and pull to make a screenshot, it immediately saves a copy to the screenshots folder, and this results in a huge cluttered mess in your screenshots folder. And that's something I'll have to go back and clean out here in a little bit, because, well, there's a few things I don't want to keep, and of course they're there anyway, so I have to go delete them. So hit or miss really on the new simping tool. I do like it though, for the most part. It initially seemed buggy until Windows Update ran and installed, I think, a cumulative update, and that seemed to fix it. I can't say that going from Windows 10 to Windows 11, the upgrade for the most part went pretty seamlessly. Most of my settings were retained. I did, however, have to go reconfigure my desktop background, among other things like that. Again, it is the equivalent of doing an in-place upgrade install of the operating system, so there are some things that simply don't click when you do the upgrade and you have to go back and fix them. But overall, I think Windows 11 is actually pretty nice. Now, to be honest with you, I do see myself downloading and installing Start All Back here pretty soon, because the new Windows 11 Start menu, it's just not quite. It's just not quite 100% in my opinion when you consider it to like Windows 7. Windows 7 was the last OS from Microsoft that had a decent start menu. And of course, Windows 8 was a total disaster. 8.1 gave you a start button, which took you back to the total disaster of a start screen. But Windows 10 at least did bring back a start menu, and honestly, I liked the start menu was, in my opinion, better in some of the beta builds of Windows 10 than it was in the R10 release. Matter of fact, one of the older beta builds of Windows 10, the start menu functioned like the left pane was very similar to Windows 7, and of course the right pane is where they of course put all your live tiles. And I'll be honest with you, one of the best things about going from Windows 10 to Windows 11 is goodbye live tiles. It's just they were so ugly. It was so ugly. I mean, looking back at Windows 8, for example, I mean, considering that Windows 8.1, I mean, we're about to lose support for Windows 8.1. Not that, well, hardly many people care, but Windows 8.1, or better yet, Windows 8. You know, the start screen of Windows 8 in its original form, it reminded me of what I'll see on the home screen of a 16-year-old girl's tablet. Except I think many 16-year-old girls out there probably have a cleaner, more organized home screen than the Windows 8 start screen. I mean, the start screen, it's, especially when you add in themes and stuff like that, it's just like, what, it makes the PC look like a child's toy. So I'm so glad to be done with the live tiles. I'm glad they're gone. Goodbye. I'm glad they're gone. But The thing is, Windows 11, and I talked about this in another video very recently, the sad thing about it is the insanely high minimum system requirements. And of course, earlier in the video, you heard me refer to them as the Microsoft Elite Class minimum system requirements for Windows 11. Now, of course, Microsoft Elite Class, that's not technically anything that Microsoft actually came up with. That's not their trademark. That's something I come up with myself here at Q Computer, because I think Elite Class best describes those minimum requirements. It's like taking all the computers in existence, at least all the computers that are up to 10 years old, and only factoring in the Cadillacs and the BMWs, the Porsches, the Mercedes, all the high brands. Even the Buicks wouldn't qualify. Even the Buicks, or we'll say maybe Lincolns. Maybe Lincolns would qualify for Windows 11. But I mean, it's like taking all the car brands and considering only the elitist of the car brands, the one that can run the new shiny OS from Microsoft. It's ridiculous. And if you go back and watch that video, you'll hear me talk more about this, as well as what I think Windows 11 could cause if those high requirements are not addressed, or Windows 10 support is not extended past 2025. So to wrap this up, that's sort of just my opinions on Windows 11 now that I've been using it as a primary OS for the past half of a month. I plan on keeping it, but there are some things that I think need to be addressed to make it a better OS. I mean, stop making the start menu so much like a mobile tablet. Why not consider the approach that was in Windows 7? I mean, it's just my opinion. And why are the right-click menus by default too dumbed down? Like, if I right-click on the taskbar, why do I get just Task Manager or Taskbar settings, whereas in Windows 10 I got a crap ton more options just by right-clicking the taskbar? Because now, I mean, to get certain taskbar settings, I have to click on taskbar settings, and that goes into settings, and then to go through settings to figure out what I want to do. Whereas a lot of times it was right there in that right-click menu in Windows 10. So there's some good things and there's some not so good things. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Well, everybody, that wraps it up for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to Q Computer channel, and be sure to tick the bell, that way you get notified of new video posts. Also, I recommend following Q Computer Company on Facebook. A link is in the video description. In addition to computer tech videos, I have a second channel, CubeCompMTDX. Links are available at the end of this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching and your support.